Wow, there's so many things. I mean, I'm part of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, and we are not only a symphonic orchestra, we are also the orchestra of the Vienna State Opera. So there's a lot to do, and it's
Yeah.
also every day is different. I love that about my work.
It's so lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, it's so lovely to talk to you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, I follow you on Instagram and I saw you're a flutist. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your career and how you started. What was it about the flute initially that attracted you?
Well, actually, both my parents are flutists, so it just runs in the family, actually. And I always had the flute around me. I always heard the flute from when I was when I was really small. So when I was just, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, I wanted to learn the flute, and my mom was a flute teacher, and she really tried to avoid me playing the flute as well, because it's my father, my brother, my uncle, and myself now, my mother, who are all playing the flute. And so she thought, yeah, maybe we don't need another one. And so she tried to convince me of other instruments, but in the end, it was just what I wanted, and she saw that, and so I started my first lessons by the age of 8 with her, and then it went on.
Okay, so you were taught by your mum, and was that easy? I mean, because I know I homeschooled my children, and I know it's not always the easiest to teach your own children.
No, sure. Actually, it was very easy because my mom handled it quite well. She only gave me lessons in the music school, and only in a group of 3. So I wasn't something special. It was not at home. So I was really in the music school in a group like everybody else. And that's what worked very well. And she never disturbed me when I was practicing. I was always practicing on my own, doing my thing. And actually it was just the other way around than most children. She always said, "Oh, don't you want to go out and play a little bit with the other children?" I want to practice. So I was really I don't know if that's healthy, but I just loved playing the flute. So until the age of 13, then the whole thing turned around a little bit. It became a little bit difficult. And then she said, "Okay, now is the time you go to another teacher." And so I joined the conservatory in Linz in Austria. And that's how my studies then started, with many different teachers. Yeah.
But now, were you also, as a teenager, were you also then so eager to practice? Was that still?
Yes, I always loved playing the flute, and I loved seeing the progress I was making. But I was not a nerd, so I was not at home all the time. I had many friends. I was going out. I was partying like everybody else. But in between school and afternoon things, I just loved to practice. And I was at the conservatory by the age of 13, so it became quite serious in a way very early, and I loved it. Yeah, I loved every step of it. Yeah.
And you had now the example from your parents that they, you could see what is possible if you practice and when you want to play the flute. So do you think sometimes this is also important for children to be able to see where it goes?
Well, it helps a lot, I think, to have this kind of role model at home, to have a vision of how it can sound every day, because I was just surrounded by it. Of course, that helps. Of course. But, it's always the most important thing, I think, is how the parents handle the situation. There are parents, music teachers or musicians, who really put a lot of pressure on their children, and then it can just turn the other way. So I was really lucky that my parents didn't really interfere with my growth and my own curiosity. They just let me do my thing. Of course, they were there. Of course, they were supporting. Of course, they were taking me to lessons to Vienna later and to Munich. And they loved seeing me grow, of course, but they didn't put any pressure on me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, I hear sometimes it's these two sides, you know, sometimes it's a musician who comes from a family who none of the parents had any music background and how they develop. And then also now that you say you come from this musical family and how you develop. So it's like you say, it depends on the parents really.
A lot, yeah. Of course, also the children of how their don't know how their access to the instrument is, if they like to practice, if they want to put in the effort, if they enjoy it. Yeah, there are many things that are playing a role, I think.
Yeah. Now, and then your career, how did it start for you then after your studies?
Well, after my studies, I actually won my position during my studies. So, as I said, I joined the conservatory in Linz with my teacher Gisela Maschiyeki-Beer, and then I was also a young student of the university in Munich and of Günther Vogelmeier in private lessons, and then I joined the class in Vienna by the age of 18 of Wolfgang Schulz, and then later Karl-Heinz Schütz. And then I went on to France for a year. And then by the age of 23, so it's really, I have my 10 years audition anniversary by the end of May now.
Really?
Yes. When I was 23, I won my position. Yeah. That was before my bachelor exam. So
amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and this is now you said you did your exam as well, or your bachelor exam. Do you have to continue studying now?
No, I'm not I'm teaching now at the university. But no, I actually don't have the time to do my master's degree now because I'm just so busy. We're so busy in the orchestra, and yeah, many other tasks I'm doing. So
now tell me, orchestra life is what is it about orchestra life that you enjoy?
Wow, there's so many things. I mean, I'm part of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, and we are not only a symphonic orchestra, we are also the orchestra of the Vienna State Opera. So there's a lot to do, and it's also every day is different. I love that about my work. So we don't really have a routine. Sometimes you have rehearsal in the morning, then you're free. Sometimes you have 2 rehearsals and you're free in the evening. Sometimes you have 2 rehearsals and opera in the evening. And every day is different. And of course, if we are on tour, that's a whole other story again. So yeah, it never gets boring. I get to see a lot of the world. I meet many very interesting people and musicians. And now as I'm teaching, I'm also learning a lot from my students and through the teaching process. And yeah, it's very full. My days are packed, but I love it. Yeah, I love all the different things I can do.
But I'm just now wondering when do you still have time to practice, or do you still have to practice certain things?
I have to practice, of course. It depends on what we're playing in the orchestra. If there's something very special, I have to practice. Of course, the opera repertoire and many of the symphonic things I know very well now. After 10 years, I don't have to practice for hours if there's a Mozart opera or something. But of course, for my solo projects or for chamber music projects, I have to practice, and sometimes for the orchestra as well. So, and I really enjoy it. If I can find the time to just have 2 hours or 1 hour for me in my practice room, it's like meditation. Now I'm here, I can take care of myself, and I enjoy that too. But it's true that it's not very much time for that. I have to admit that.
Yeah. Well, this is so fascinating that you enjoy practice so much.
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
do. I love to improve myself. I love to really get into the details again, because if you're playing in the orchestra, you sometimes lose a little bit the position for yourself here, for
Yeah.
your sound, and because you're part of a big sound. And so it's always good to come back to the basics, and yeah, have time to practice for yourself. That's always a good thing to do.
Well, it's such a great privilege where you are now in the Philharmonic Orchestra and Vienna. I mean, this is really I think for many musicians that they would love to be and strive to be. And and now in lockdown, for example, the orchestra how did you find it? I mean, was it difficult for you to not be together and be in the theater?
I mean, of course, I missed my colleagues.
Yeah.
Many of them, because we spent so much time together. Most of all, when we were on tour, we have like 16 hours together sometimes.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're cut off. I mean, with very close friends of mine in the orchestra, of course, I was in contact and we were seeing each other when it was allowed. But it was not difficult for me actually as a musician, because finally I really had the time to just do my stuff. I had no deadlines. I didn't have any dates, so I have to have that thing practiced until tomorrow evening, but I could just practice what I love to practice and do the work on my own, and had my free time. So at the beginning of the lockdown, I really enjoyed that, having the freedom to do what I want to do without a schedule. But of course, when it became longer and longer and lockdown again and again, you get tired of that too, and you miss the contact to the audience and to your colleagues, and also traveling, of course. But now everything is opening again, so I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. And you've been touring again, I saw.
Yeah. We've been touring again very early on, actually. And also last year during lockdown, we were in Japan. And now we also were to the US in February. So yeah, it starts getting quite normal again.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
But now tell me about your teaching. So what is it, you of course, as such a experienced musician, is it for you important to teach?
Yeah, it is. It's most of all because I'm learning a lot for myself, also through teaching, through articulating what I'm doing. I'm getting conscious of all the things I am actually doing quite automatically sometimes. And you develop another consciousness for your own playing by teaching. And it's also important to just share your experience. If it's bad or good, but I think everybody can learn from somebody who has gone through auditions, concerts, whatever. I'm doing the audition training actually at the University for Music and Performing Arts in Vienna. So I think I can give quite a lot from my experience, because I also didn't win my first audition. And that's also why I created then my own audition academy in Upper Austria, in the Salzkammergut. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what do you do? Is this specifically for auditions to help musicians?
Exactly. Yeah. Because at the university, I see that the students are searching for ways to cope with the situation of an audition, which is very special, because you have like sometimes only 3, 4, 5 minutes to show your whole musical potential. It's like in sports, actually, like a skier who has just those few minutes, and you have to be on point. And that's very special, because that's not necessarily an environment where you feel like a great artist and you can make a lot of music, because it's very competitive. And so we built a team. We have a mental trainer, we have somebody who does the body work, balancing thing, and we also had a doctor with us. I'm doing the artistic tutoring, and we also have it for trumpet this year. So there's also Roman Rindberger from Nozel Brass who is teaching, and that's all in a very beautiful environment near Lake Traunsee. And yes, that's what we're doing there. We're having a mock audition, we're having concerts. It's all in 1 week. It's a masterclass in summer.
That's amazing that you have that, and that, you know, that, because it's like you say, it's when they have the few minutes to show, if you are nervous or if you're a little bit stressed, then of course it will impact your playing.
Of course. Yeah, stress always has a bad impact on our musicality, on our feeling of expression and freedom. We tend to draw back, and everything we know we're fearful. Performance anxiety is the most how do you say, verbreitet, the most common fear in human beings, actually. There's a ranking, it's even rated higher than the fear of death in this ranking. All the fears, when you ask people what is your biggest fear, mostly people say number one, speaking or performing or doing something in front of an audience. It's our innate human nature that we're really scared of that, because we're scared of rejection and of being cut out of a group. That's where it comes from originally. And that, of course, impacts your playing on stage, because you perform best if you feel relaxed and accepted and loved and appreciated. And so you have to build this environment for yourself. And that takes a lot of work. Yeah.
Oh, that is very interesting. And you wonder then how many musicians don't make it because of this anxiety.
Not only because of this anxiety, but also because of this anxiety. Because if you look at, if there's a position in an orchestra which is free, a vacancy, then usually when it comes to the flute, there are like 180, 200 people applying for one job. So only one can win, and the others, of course, they're disappointed. So it's not only the anxiety that keeps you from maybe not winning a position. You have to have many factors together that you really win on this particular day. But it helps, of course.
Yeah, but what would your advice be for a young flutist, who's starting their studies or who's starting in their career?
Advice, it's very difficult. Most of all, you really have to love what you're doing, because if you're just doing it for somebody else, for example, it just doesn't work. You need to put in the work, you need to put in the love, otherwise you're getting to a certain point, but from there it doesn't go further. So just be aware that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of work, and it also takes some kind of openness. You need to have a vision for yourself where you want to go, and there are many sacrifices you have to make, for sure. If it's time sacrifices, you can't spend so much time with your friends or whatever you want to do. You have to put it into your focused work on your instrument, and that's something you have to be aware of. But if you're going for it, and if it works out, it's one of the most beautiful jobs that you can have, I think.
Yeah, amazing. But now tell me, what are your wishes for the future?
My wishes for the future. Well, actually, we're just working on the academy again, which starts on the 27th of August. And there are many things to do. We're developing that for more instruments. And we're also at the moment working on our online programs for the Academy. So that is also growing. I hope that we can really build a community there and support young musicians. That's my vision for my Academy. And for myself, I'm just, at the moment, I'm a little bit going with the flow since the lockdown. I talked to my colleagues just a few days ago. It's a completely different feeling since those many lockdowns, because you just live day by day. You think, okay, this concert, maybe it takes place, maybe not. So I'd better enjoy it while it does. So I'm not so much in the planning ahead anymore. And that is actually a good thing for everyday life. And yeah, there are many exciting concerts and projects coming up. So yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I think, because many musicians say that, that since lockdown, things have changed a little bit in the mindset, of how they think about things. Do you think the music industry will change a little bit after this? Or do you think it will go back to normal again? How people value the theater and the arts and so on.
I think it has changed. Yes. I think that people now appreciate more really being in the live experience again. That's what we hear from our audiences, that what people tell us, that they're so grateful to just feel the energy in the room and be part of an opera. Actually, when you're in the room, you're part of the whole energy exchange. You hear and you see, you sense the orchestra. You're part of it with all your senses, and that's what an online content can never provide. Yeah, and I think that people appreciate that more again now. Also for us, it was like the first live concert after lockdown. It was like, whoa, it's so different. So great, not only playing for the camera. It's a completely different feeling. So I think that has changed a lot. And that's something good. Of course, there are many bad changes also. People that are that were freelancers that now have to do just completely different jobs because they lost their whole foundation. We are very lucky because we're at the State Opera, we're employed, we have been paid all the time, so there was never some kind of dangerous situation for us. We feel really privileged. But there are many of my colleagues who don't have that, and for those it's awful, of course.
And I wonder also, because I've spoken to many musicians, many artists during lockdown time, also like this on Zoom, and I've raised also the question about the education. If it shouldn't start also at education level, where children get more education in all forms of art, so that art can be more valued, and even if they don't become musicians or don't become ballet dancers, but that they have the exposure for the art, and that this would also bring a love then for the theater, for the arts, and so.
Yes, I think that would be extremely important.
Yeah.
For me, in my experience, it just always was there. It was my natural surroundings. But I can imagine that somebody who doesn't have that, these days, it's really difficult to get into this kind of cultural awareness or really enjoying listening to a Puccini opera or something. If you've never been in touch with it, it's you always have this barrier, I think. And that's something that can be broken if you really touch young children by this music. And what our orchestra is also doing through its youth work. But I think it should be part of education, as you said. Of course, we're absolutely underestimating the importance and the good things art does to our brain, to our growth, to our intelligence in general.
Definitely. I mean, the research has been done already. The proof is there. So I would think, this would be something that should really be considered
Absolutely.
on school level, you know, that this should not be anymore just a half an hour a week, but it should be very much implemented. Actually, I spoke to a lyrist, you know, the ancient lyra. They've revived the ancient lyra, and he told me that in schools in ancient Greece, you were considered uneducated if you couldn't play the lyra. And you know, if you think how far have changed, that you know, now it's not everybody can play an instrument, but those days they did. You know, they all could play the lyra.
Yeah. That was not only the Greeks, that was until the 18th, 19th century, that it was just a big part of education and also of family life, to get together and make music together. And also for women, it was considered very attractive if a woman was able to play the piano. That was something that was considered in high esteem. So yeah, it's not, I'm not saying we should go back to the 19th century there, but making music part of our everyday life again would connect people more, and would also scientifically spoken help our brain development. There's so much research about that, how music makes you just a more intelligent human being, and it's absolutely underestimated. Absolutely.
No, I totally agree. But listen now, just the last question. Can you do a shout out for your favorite restaurant in Vienna, or your favorite coffee shop? I'm sure you.
There are many. No, I can, absolutely. You should go to restaurant Pauli. It's in Johannesgasse 16, so really between Musikverein and opera. And it's a traditional Austrian restaurant, but with a very modern touch, and a great team there.
Really?
I can absolutely recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to put the link in the description of the video.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. So do you go often?
Yes. They know me there if you're going there.
Well, that's also a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Karin, this was so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
And I'll when I come to see the ballet again, I'll pop in to see if I see you in the orchestra pit.
The pit. Yeah, that would be very amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, Karin, have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank
Petra.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.